Hi, Luke Hanson McDonald here. Today's interview is my first with somebody from Ghana. Mary Asante Asamoah is the second generation leader of her family business, Barbex. They're in the mining services business and in agriculture, growing crops like cocoa and coffee. Mary shares the incredible story of how her father went from being an employee at a mining business to seeing a unique opportunity where he went and became an entrepreneur, providing mining services to multinationals from all over the world. As well, Mary shares her own journey, how she originally wanted to be a member of the UN and ultimately over time pivoted to join her family business. You're not going to want to miss this one. This is Beyond the Family Business podcast. Let's jump into it. Who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do?
Okay. Hello. So my name is Mary Asante Asamoah. I am from Ghana. And, you know, land of rich resources, where we have the gold. All right. What do I do? I'm privileged to lead Barbex, 100% Ghanaian owned family business. And we focus on two core areas. On the one side, mining, where we provide mine support services, so supply chain solutions. On the other side, agribusiness, two different sides, still dealing with the earth, but one is taken out, one is given in. But on the other side, it's production and value creation for cocoa, coffee, and rubber. So that's what I do on a daily basis, just leading this family business. Yep.
Very cool. And can you start the story back, at its infancy with the business? When was the business founded? Who was it founded by?
It's interesting, we actually turned 35 this year. So business was started in 1990. I want to believe my father chose my birthday, but then again, he hasn't said it, but yes, it's July 1990. And basically started, he had been with Taylor Woodrow for years, helped them in different construction, different projects. And the final one had to do with helping to set up the mines in Ghana. They had a stint, and somehow over time, Taylor Woodrow decided to withdraw and say, okay, we're closing that unit of the business. Now, what my dad did was to ask for the blessing of his employer and continue in the mining industry because he felt they had started something and he wanted to be a part of the success story. He wanted to be a part, still providing, some support for these organizations that were coming in. And so he asked for a blessing and started Barbex in 1990. What he's focused on, or what he was focused on back then, hasn't changed. Maybe the scope has changed, but it's still the same, being that indispensable partner to the gold mines at the time. So helping them with basic things back then, eh, even, simple things like getting visas for the multinational, for the expats that were coming in to help establish the mines here, being that support for them, that local support. That's what it is. That's what he sets Barbex out to be. And so when we talk supply chain solutions or offering that services, any and everything that allows the mines to focus on their core business, which is get that goal for us. So we are that partner that makes sure they're able to do that successfully.
Very cool. And what inspired your father to, jump from being an employee to being an entrepreneur? I mean, that's a big leap for a lot of people. And so, yeah.
I, I
What was the inspiration?
I actually interviewed him on my podcast, and I asked him, who does that? I mean, you're giving up good money to deal with stress. Why? I think it's just passion. And he keeps saying he identified a need and felt, hey, I could help fix this, or I could be a solution provider to that. So that's what it is. It's passion, because entrepreneurship with the stress and, getting a paycheck from a good company, yeah, he followed his heart. So it was passion and wanting to make a difference in the nation. And I think you just see it has to be passion for sure, because the stress that comes with not just entrepreneurship but with being in mining, I mean, it never stops. There's nothing like 9 to 5 and we go home. Mining is all day, every day, around the clock. So that level of pressure to choose that, yeah, certainly passion. He says that's all it is, making that difference in the nation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a very good friend who works in the gold and silver mining industry, and it seems like the craziest industry ever. Like there's so many unique challenges, but people seem to love it. You must get addicted to it almost because it's
Yes.
it's such a adrenaline thrill ride.
I love the pressure. There's something about it. It's like once you get in there, you get used to it. No one day is the same. And I mean, somebody sitting on the sidelines would be like, "What are you doing? What's all this stress?" But there's something exciting about the pressure. So yes, it's the passion
Yeah,
keeps us going.
100%.
Yeah.
And so you're in the second generation.
Yes, fresh. I mean, I listen to stories and people are doing fifth and seventh. There's even one that did 46th generation. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm the second. Such
No,
an
no,
honor.
hey, so am I. I I
Oh,
I
see?
know how it feels. I'm in the same spot. And do you have, siblings?
Yes, yes. So, interestingly, my sister, also we're three, and now we're all in the business. My sister just joined us this month. Took a while for her to finally jump in, but yes, she's in. So all three of us are in the second generation, trying to change things, move it to the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
level. But yes, all three second generation. Yep,
Very cool. Your dad must be very proud.
he is. You can see it in his eyes. So, like, when you're sitting back and watching you do stuff, it's exciting.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes. He
no
still
kidding.
comes around. I mean, he's not, in active service, but he comes around offering advice or just hanging out, and it's nice. It's a nice
That
feeling.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so could you speak a little bit about, like, where the business started? So he was in the mining industry
Mhm.
himself, he saw that opportunity. What was the first opportunity? And then sorta how did it evolve over time, and now you're in cocoa and rubber and agriculture, so what did that evolution look like?
So, when he started, I mean, I said it was basic things like even offering support for getting visas, all of that, getting your licenses to operate in a Ghanaian mining industry coming from outside, offering to be that liaison. So we need to do exploration, we need to do sample testing. He takes those things out. The first major thing for him or for Barbex would have been to start setting up consignment warehouses. So there was nothing like that. And so when they started the mines, it's like importing everything you need to make things work. So importing all your reagents, importing all the chemicals that are needed in the process. And that this was being handled by the mines. Now, talk of cash flow, that's a lot sitting or ordering so much at a go and all of that. So one of the first things he did was to set up the consignment warehouse. So I think we're one of the first people to start that consignment stock where we keep products in warehouses that we have built and deliver to the mines as and when they need it. And then also invoice as and when they need. So then there's less pressure on the cash flow when it comes to the mining side. So that was one of our first assignments. I mean, I think it's inventory management, and that can be very challenging. I mean, when you think back to those times, I keep wondering, using telex or fight like back then, trying to get orders across all of that, but managing to deal with companies in Australia in different areas where trying to get products in. It was he was new to it, but it was exciting for him. So key thing was consignment warehousing, consignment stock for the mines, and we're still doing it still today. Interestingly enough, so those things have over time we moved to become sort of the local representative for multinationals that want to do business with the mines. So all the big cyanide companies, the different, Orica, DuPont, different organizations that deal with the mines. We served as a local rep, going around maybe, well, in terms of business development, selling, but also just any and everything, doing any and everything that is required on ground. We were their go-to person. That evolved, I think, around 2015 after I joined, we moved up the value chain. So now we're not just acting as a local rep for companies, but we decided to get in the game ourselves. So this time it's okay. Before I was just selling on behalf of somebody. Now this is me tendering in putting in a tender. This is me getting an actual contract for Barbex, not for another business. Of course, we didn't go bidding for the same things that we used to work with the people on. This is identifying other chemicals, but at least it moved up the value chain. And yes, that's where we are. Now I want to move further up, or we want to move further up into actually manufacturing or making sure that, okay, we've been there, done that. We've been importing. How about what can we produce locally? What can we say has been done in Ghana? I think that issue of value creation, what can you do for your nation internally so that you're not always taking the money out? That's where we are. That's what we're working at. I mean, thinking and planning and plotting and waiting to, execute. But I think it's that level of growth, wanting to move to the next level. It's very important. And
Yeah,
yes, so over time,
absolutely.
that's on the mining side. Um, Sometime during all his mining projects, he decided to start farming as well. Um, Also out of passion, and so that's how we started the plantation. And again, with that one, yes, first it was just about getting cocoa, coffee, and rubber. We've evolved to say, listen, we can't keep just selling the products. What can we do differently? So it's thinking about coffee. Let's move from bean to cup. You know, no more just selling the beans, but let's hull it. Let's make sure that we have a product that actually goes to somebody's table. So we were working and started the bean to cup project. It's just thinking and just growing and making sure you're not stuck at level one, right? What else can you do differently? So, yep,
Wow.
5 years.
So he's quite an entrepreneur. I mean,
Yes,
that is a lot of different things to accomplish in such a
yep,
short period of time. Um, I guess one of the things I'd ask you personally, my dad was a serial entrepreneur, had multiple businesses, and, the downside was that he was at work a lot when I was younger, and then as I got older and I joined the family business, one of the big benefits was that I got to spend a lot more time with him than maybe I ever did before. What was your journey like as far as, did you see your dad a lot growing up, or was he always on the road,
so
or, and then what was it like since you've joined the business?
all right. So growing up, I mean, for me, I always thought, okay, my dad worked in the bush, quote unquote, and he was only home on the weekends. That's what I grew up knowing. I mean, my mom was always there. When my dad is in Accra with us, he's present for sure. But most of the time, from Monday to Friday, he's out in the mines. And we got used to it. The exciting part was usually on vacations, he would have us come over. And so that was nice. I mean, I remember going on a tour of a gold mine. I didn't appreciate those things then because I wasn't even interested in, being a part of his business. So, but now I wish they would give access. I feel like security reasons, so a lot has changed. So I wish I could get back some of those experiences, but it's all gone. But no, my dad was usually away and spend time with him on vacations and the weekends. Yes, I spend more time with him now, but I think it's not just from childhood because I was away. I moved to Canada and then to the US. So I was away for maybe like 8 years, if not more. So so for me, coming back and working in the business is like having him around all the time. That's good. Not because of childhood experience of him not being around, but it's that gap of being away from home for so long. It's like, okay, I get to make up for it by spending so much time. I mean, since 2008, I'm in the office with him almost every day, Monday to Friday. So that's nice. At least a couple of hours you get to see him. So yes, making
That
up.
is awesome. No, absolutely. Yeah, I lived in Toronto for a number of years when I was younger, for 3 years, and then for 5 years more recently. And the latter stint was during COVID, and it wasn't easy to travel. And so we had our first kid, and there was this period where we couldn't see either my parents or my wife's parents, and that definitely solidified for me how much I want to be close to home,
Hmm.
just so I can see them, uh, while I still have time with them. So
It's so
absolutely appreciate
yeah.
that.
I feel like we take certain things for granted. Not intentionally, but it's like, oh, he's always there. I'll see him. And then when you're away for a while, you realize, hey, there's something missing. Where's family? So these things, these experiences really help you to appreciate people, appreciate time. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Um, so many of my viewers are from, North America, Canada specifically, but let's say North America. And our world and our economy right now for sure is going through its own,
Interesting times.
interesting time period of
Hmm.
of, flux and lots of new variables. Could you tell us a little bit about what it's like doing business in Ghana right now? And, sort of what's the outlook, I guess, of your economy?
See, you won't put me on the spot and have my people find this video and come for me. I will keep it very general. It's a mindset thing when it comes to Ghana. I mean, you just need to have an open mindset and understand that, hey, this is not what I'm used to, or this is not where I'm from. And so be open to some of the things that happen. You have to adapt to it, right? Ghana, they say, is open for business. Just yesterday, we were discussing, we want so many, we want to open mining up and do so much. And yet, policies, okay, do we have the policies to support it? Are we doing what will attract that investment? The conversations that are being had, because it's like you want one thing, and yet the situation on the ground is so different. Does it support it? Are you giving that stability that businesses want? There's a lot that's going on, but that's on the general side. And then when it comes to family business, it's different in a way. I mean, I worked in DC for a while before moving home, and some of the things I find are that, in Ghana or outside, there's more structure. There's certain things, excellence. There's certain things that come naturally to everybody. The system works. I don't need to micromanage. I don't need to do certain things because everybody understands their role. Everybody understands, how to do business or what's expected of them. It's very different on this side. What's written and what happens on the ground are usually different. People's mindsets are different. Like, you have a contract, you're supposed to do something. When I move back, I wouldn't chase you for it because I feel like, yeah, we have an agreement. This is what is expected of you. So when I call for it, I expect to see these things. And then time comes, you call for it, you realize, oh no, 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 big mistake. You assumed you were still in DC, and we had a certain mindset, and that's not happening. Like, it's very different. So I think for anybody seeking to do business here, the mindset is key. Understand that where you're coming from is different from this place. Be open minded, go with the flow, stick to your values, but ensure that you adapt and adapt quickly so that business can go on and you're not frustrated. Certainly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. What I was trying to get at was your family has been now successful for, over 3 decades in an industry, as we talked about. It's already super complex and difficult. So to do it for this long, plus you're also in the agriculture business, what is the, sort of core of your success? Why
Okay.
have you and your family been successful for so long, over that time period?
Why have you been successful? I think, mm, okay, maybe I'll give three things. It's the strong values. Values, so you don't bend at the wrong time. Strong values for sure. Upholding integrity, ensuring that you have a vision in mind and you're pushing for it, and that's all. But you stick to certain values. And for us, in terms of upbringing, I mean, we were raised in a Christian home. There are certain things you have the do's and don'ts, you have the unwritten rules. So sticking to that has helped us. I wouldn't if I'm doing something in one office, I don't care if I later find out that there's a video that's leaked because I will stick to my values. Whatever I'm doing in secret, if you bring it out, it's still the same, right? So I think the strong values are key, especially in doing business here, making sure that you just follow the rules, do what is expected of you. What else? Maybe adaptability, understanding the times and seasons and moving with it so that you're not stuck or left behind, right? I mean, you're talking right now, we're talking sustainability, ESG, all sorts of things. This, the world we knew back then is different. Like, things have changed so much. And if you want to
Mm,
stay stuck in your ways, you're gonna be left behind. So it's ensuring you adapt to the times while sticking to your values, but make sure that you're moving with the times. It's key. And maybe a third thing would be just striving for excellence. That's one of our values as a business, right? Whatever you find to do, do it well, do it to the best of your ability. Now, it can be simple things like helping somebody get their visa. Or it could be more complicated things like securing a contract to deliver something very, very important to the mind. Whatever it is, you do it well, because I come to understand people, relationships, all of that opens doors for you, right? Maybe it's something, a small gesture here, but it can open doors for you elsewhere. So it's just making sure you stick to those strong values that we have as a business, adapting to the times so you're not left behind, and just striving for excellence in everything. Humble, I mean, whatever it may be, just
Mm.
give it your all. It helps.
No, that's really well put. And I like the, mixture of sort of the tradition of your values, anchoring you, but then also that drive for excellence and the, not becoming complacent. That makes a lot of sense. Is it fair to say that those values came from both your mom and your dad? As far as
Oh yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
drove you and your siblings?
Definitely, definitely. I have to give to my parents. I think that we don't even realize the influence that they have, right? But that strong upbringing, the socialization, it plays a key role. It's a firm foundation that any child, I mean, especially if you're doing family business and you want to hand things over to your children, it's not when they're 30 or 35 or something you're trying to hand over. No, it starts from how you groom them and who you form that, help them to become. It makes a difference, and it actually influences the business or how things are run. So yes, certainly firm foundation from my parents. I have to give to them. I can't even deny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, so obviously your passion is coming through for your family business now, but you weren't always in your family business, as you said. You went and lived in Canada and the U.S. Could you tell us a bit about your journey before you joined the family business?
All right. So growing up, before when I was supposed to choose my, what to do in undergrad, I said I wanted to be like the UN Secretary General at the time, Kofi Annan. He's the first Ghanaian. I say first because hey, maybe I'll still be that second one, but I wanted to be I wanted to work with the UN. That was the passion then. And it's only because I had seen this man on TV. I loved what he was doing. I stand for peace. So I was just excited. And so I decided to go to Wilfred Laurier in Kitchener in Waterloo. And I did international relations, political science, because I was so sure we're doing policy. That's what I'm about. I'm going to make a difference in the world. And so after graduating from Laurier, I decided to move to Washington, D.C. Again, corridors of power. If we're trying to make change, that's where we should be. So then I moved to DC to work. Now, things changed when I had to work with the finance and operations director for a while. And I started working with her. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm loving the numbers. I love the challenge. I love the action that comes with it. It's not the regular just writing. I enjoy writing, but there's something about this that got me so excited. So then I decided, all right, masters in political science, not happening, not happening. We're going to business. And so I visited Columbia University. I wanted to go to Northwestern. You know, I wanted to do my MBA. Now, this is somebody come from an arts background, and then I had also worked in policy, so nothing related to business. And so all these people said, "Hey,
Mm.
your grades are good, everything is fine, but you need relevant work experience." Like, come on, I have timelines. I want to do this now. What are you talking about? I know you need 2 years. And so I started searching or applying to jobs outside of what I was doing in DC at the time. I actually got into a program with Chevy Chase. They said banking. Went for orientation. That didn't really work out. And then my mom said, listen, you've been complaining about missing home. Why don't you just come home for the 2 years that is required by the school? Come work with your father, because he at the time was going through his own challenges at work. So come support him, get the relevant work experience that's being asked for, and then go back. Now, I thought it was a win-win because I get to be home. I can hang out for 2 years. I'm working. I'll be paid. What's there to lose, right? And then I can just apply for school and be gone. And yeah, I don't know if that's a trap. She would never confess to it, but I feel like she knew what she was doing when she invited me back, because she should have just encouraged me to find a job that I want back in DC. But anyway, so I came home, and yeah, I had never thought of working with my dad, but I came home and suddenly there was this burden, like you wanted to help, you wanted to make that difference, you wanted to help him. I felt like he was carrying a load and I just wanted to support. And with the exposure I'd had, with the experience I'd had, I felt, okay, we can do this, we can do that, like offering suggestions. You realize somehow it's like being given a child. Like there's a connection that you can't break. So 2 years down the line, yeah, I didn't even think of school at the time. I was in knee deep. I was in there, and yes, that's just how it happened. So I never set out to work in the business, but I stepped in there, and once I got in, there was no turning back. I knew I was stuck.
You were hooked.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's how it went.
Your mom must be a very smart woman.
I
She,
tell you.
that's
Yep,
hilarious.
it worked.
Um, and so where have you worked in the family business? Like, what are the main areas you focused on? Because you joined the family business in 2008, you said?
2008. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So when I joined, I was given a position of special projects coordinator. And I kept thinking, what is this big title? What sort of work is this? But
Mm.
basically, when I started, I was given the task of basically restructuring the group, ensuring that the business units under, you know, were under the group were actually doing what we expected, or things like that. So I was in charge of restructuring and ensuring that the business units work. And to do that, I was involved with consultants. So I was basically like a liaison between the business and the consultants, just to study each business, ensure that we're doing things as should. And that really helped me, because then you know, I got to understand the business by answering questions, by being with these consultants, understanding every department, every unit. That helped me to understand the whole group. Um, for starters, at the time, we had Barbex technology, and that was into essential oil. So we had citronella oil, just different extracts from lemongrass, different things using technology. So they call it Barbex technology. But all of this helped me understand the business. When I focused, for the most part, I think I'm focused more on the mining. It's in recent times that I've taken, some attention to the agri side. But in terms of mining, after restructuring, maybe you can say in the beginning, I was more on the people management, human resource side of things, just especially since at the time I came in, we're going through some changes. So in terms of hiring new people, there was a shakeup of sorts, um, getting new people on board, ensuring that their experience match where the business was trying to go, all of that. So I was involved in the HR side of things. I realized quickly that that's not for me, because they say I'm too soft. I'm too emotional. I think about everybody and their grandchildren before making a decision, blah, blah, blah. So yes, I was like, you know what? This is not my strength. And as well, when you're in management, or so long as people know you're the boss's daughter, I mean, any decision you make is taken differently. So I quickly took myself out of
Mm.
it. I was more involved in operations, and just seeing where the money goes as well. So balancing that. And so I think over time I've um involved myself in different departments and just every aspect. Now I sit and have a broad overview, working more on transformation, innovation, and ensuring that you know, focusing on business growth, things like that. But it took baby steps. Eventually, we're here. But yes, it's been
Yeah,
what?
absolutely. And, you now work with your 2 siblings? Are they your sisters or
So
sister
one
and brother?
brother, one sister. My sister just
Okay.
joined. She's a newbie. She's still going through orientation. But my
Oh, that's
brother
awesome.
joined. When did he join? Maybe 2011. 2011, if I'm not mistaken. 2010, 2011, and he's been involved as well. he's more operations. So with the way the business is structured, we have the administrative side or the head office in Accra, but the main operations is based in Tapa. It's in a mining community, so it's actually situated on the Anglo Gold Concession. So it's like 7 hours from Accra. So my brother tends to be on that side more often. He's focused on the operations, and yes, well, in recent times he's doing a lot more business development since my dad is not as involved. But yeah,
And are you the eldest sibling,
yes,
or who's the?
I am.
Yeah. So do they look up to you as the older sister?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. Yep, they do. They do. I think we've always had that relationship, and somehow I don't know if it happens to everybody, but I feel like being the first and being a girl, there's this you feeling like their second mom sort of, right? Like you care, you want to make sure they succeed, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of pressure that comes to that. Yeah.
I'm the younger of two, and no
Oh.
matter what, my older brother's still my older brother to me. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
um, so you've lived in Canada, you've lived in the U.S., you've lived in Ghana. What are some of the unique challenges or the cultural differences with family business, that would be in Ghana that you think may not exist in my part of the world?
Hmm. So I think all right, so I wasn't as exposed to family businesses then, but now
Sure.
if I just compare to just regular businesses or to what I know now, I think that the first thing for me will be Ghanaians are quite traditional. Culture plays a key role when it comes to family business differences between here and the diaspora. Right. It's just that traditional thing, even how who goes first, who's the head, who does the like culture plays a key role, whereas outside it's business, it's structures, no emotions involved. Like these are the rules, everybody follows. I think that's a big part of it over here where there's community involvement. There is that personal touch. It's very emotional. Everything is emotion driven, and you don't. Well, compared to Canada or compared to the diaspora, I think that's a main difference. The structures being in place, it's almost like it's part of you. Now we're changing on this side where people are putting in the right things. Because if you compare, I think I said that over here we don't have that many legacy businesses. You can't talk of businesses that have outlived founders and have been going for years. Whereas from the diaspora, you can brag about that. And when you talk of Europe, there's so many businesses that have that, right? And I want to believe that part of that is because you have the structures in place. Governance is key, succession planning. These are things that come to you guys naturally. Over here, it doesn't exist as much. It's something we're pushing and trying to change, but it's it's important, and I feel like we there wasn't much exposure in the past, so people didn't know these things to put it in place. So yeah,
Uh,
if I'll difference, I'll say it's the traditional, the cultural value. I mean, we're just different when it comes to culture, and it plays a key role in how we run our businesses. Also, the structures being in place, we don't have that much in terms of succession and all that. Whereas you guys have it and you enforce it. But things are changing. I want to believe it's because of our generation. The next gen's coming in, trying to on this side help families to understand that listen, we're playing on the global level now. It's no longer us in our little corners. The world has changed. And so if you want to be recognized as a global, you know, as a partner or a business person in that space, then you need to up your game and do some of these things by putting in system structures. And also the exposure is slowly coming in. Maybe if we talk in 5 years time, the difference won't be as bad. Like it'll be
yeah, yeah.
less. Yeah.
There's still a lot of challenges certainly in Canada with succession. It seems to be one of our biggest challenges,
Mhm.
is that the next generation doesn't necessarily want to work in the family business, which don't get me wrong, that's absolutely good from the point of view of, going into new
Yeah.
industries and creating new opportunities. But it is a shame that there's a lot of really great businesses here, and they didn't plan for succession. Like your journey, the next generation went somewhere else, and then they never came back. So it's still a challenge here for sure. I guess
But
I would ask, you have a podcast, and which is
mhm,
how we met. And it's also focused on family business and
yeah.
trying to help bridge that gap between generations. Um, what advice do you typically give to a family that's starting to think about succession? You've now interviewed and know many different family businesses. You've lived it yourself. What advice would you give to, the matriarch or the patriarch of a family that's thinking, all right, how do I get that next generation engaged and start to plan this out?
So I think I like to focus on mindsets, but I think the problem, like in listening to matriarchs, patriarchs, and then listening to the next gens, for most of us, it's there's something missing when it comes to information. And I think that also affects the decisions that people make. For the matriarchs, for the patriarch, you never thought about, okay, what's going to happen to my business when I retire, when I'm no longer around? What do I want? You didn't plan ahead. And so there's a way to go about it now if you decided, okay, first of all, now you have the exposure, you have the knowledge. So you know that, okay, hey, wait, I can actually have my name, I can have my business outlive me by putting in structures and stuff. There's a way that you have to carry the next gen along, right? Don't You can't come entitled and expect that because I took care of you, you need to do this. There's so much that goes into it. They need to understand that, listen, it's about competence. It's about ensuring that you have somebody that buys into your vision. There's education. And I feel like even for the next gens, it's that fear of unknown that keeps them from wanting to be a part of the business. It's just, all right, I didn't understand that I can do this, carry this business on and still live my dreams by maybe diversifying so that I do the other things that I want to do. I've just each time I talk to people, I'm like, take it easy. What you need to do is to deconstruct and understand where each person is coming from. Because when I talk to the matriarchs, you can sense their frustrations. When you talk to the next gens, you can sense that, hey, they have questions they need answered. And yet somebody's feeling entitled on the one side. Somebody feels pressured because, okay, this is my parents, so I need to please them. But what is it that we want at the end of the day? You want a business that is doing well, that is thriving, that puts your family name out there. So sit at a table, understand what each person wants, sit at the table and understand, have that shared vision. I think that's where it starts from. Come together as the patriarch, share your story, share the vision, understand the next gens. Are they interested in being a part of it? Yes, maybe no. Okay, if they're not, how else can we structure this so that business keeps going? I think things have evolved. Now you can have family offices that take care of everything. Like there are different ways to go about it. There's no point, but come to a table, possibly get a third party to sit in there and just sort of coordinate this conversation and then allow yourselves to go there. I think one of the problems with Ghana or maybe Africa is communication. We don't have those difficult conversations. Nobody wants to go there. But if you're trying to move to the next level, you need to let it all out and then let's start building. And I think that's what I've learned from my interviews. It's the process. Everybody talks about how, oh, I had to take my father out to lunch and let him understand that, listen, I've been working all these years. What's in it for me? What's your long term? Like those difficult conversations need to happen. For every family, there's a way that you go about it. But certainly communicate because everybody has something in their head that they feel the other should know without them saying, and it just doesn't work. And so communicate, have that shared vision, and agree to disagree. I mean, sometimes it won't work out. Like you say, not everybody wants to be a part of it, but or does that matter if the person is managing it? Maybe, maybe not. What you need is for the business to keep going, for somebody to oversee it. How best can we do it, etc. So just need to talk more. Need to talk more. That's what I've been learning from all these conversations. Talk.
No, transparency is number
Hmm.
one. And again, It's certainly still a challenge here in Canada. I know that, it's, I think, generational too, where, 2 generations ago, so my parents' parents, they talked about nothing. And then
Yeah.
my parents are more open, and then our generation is very open. And so I think it's improving over time, but that transparency and that open communication both ways, as you said, it's equally important that the group, the older generation is clear about their expectations or about what the business needs. And it's important that the younger generation can talk about what they actually want to do, where can they contribute, et cetera. And then you get that buy-in. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, last, we're running out of time here. So the last
Oops.
question, um, do you hope the next generation of your family also joins as well, or
Um,
do you not care?
well, I hope they join, but it's up to them. My children are involved in terms of they know when we don't have stock, when I'm stressed, they ask questions, they're involved in it. I mean, and I usually take them on the sets for the podcast when we're shooting. So they have, some
Oh,
level of
cool.
knowledge on family business. But even though they've expressed interest, I think it's their journey and it's their decision eventually. But I would hope that at least one of them has an interest in it, and so same with my siblings and their children. But not for us to dictate. At least we're putting in the system. So if nobody's in there, there's still ways that we can make sure that the business continues, right? But I really hope, I hope they see this. I really hope you join the family business. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well, maybe you'll learn from your mom with that, little mind
Strategies,
game she
right?
played with you. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that brings us to the end of our time here. So thank you so much,
Mhm.
Mary. This was an excellent conversation. I really, really enjoyed it. I learned a bunch as well. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And hopefully we'll have you on the Family Business Diary soon. So,
Absolutely. And where can people find more about your podcast?
on social media, you find us at Family Business Diaries. You can get more information on www.familybusinesshub.co, and on YouTube is Family Business Diaries. You can get all the information.
All right. This is Beyond the Family Business Podcast. I'm Luke Hanson McDonald. Please like and subscribe. Thanks so much.